All right, for this video, I want to talk to you guys about how deep you should squat and tell you why this is very important. So a lot of these videos I actually do based on just people coming to me, patients and here at Mission Move, and discussions I have with them. So a really common scenario when someone is a patient here is we ask them a lot of questions about what they're doing to work out, where they work out, what kind of exercises they're doing, and if they're doing squats, I always want to see what their squat looks like, right? Even if they're here for their shoulder. And the reason why is because, one, I'm happy that they're doing squats. We think it's an excellent exercise. But one of the things I really want to see is just their overall squat form. But the thing that I see usually is they don't go deep enough. And this is more of somebody who's going to either they're working out on their own, maybe going to some sort of HIIT class or small group fitness class, even possibly working with a personal trainer. Just depends. This isn't typically a barbell athlete. They tend to know what they're doing, but just your typical run-of-the-mill weekend warrior type. And so what I see is, and when I ask them, this is often what I see. It's like, all right, let's see your squat. Pretend you're doing a goblet squat like you got a weight right here. Let's see what you got. And so they'll get ready, and then they'll just kind of proceed to do this, right? So it's almost like they're bowing towards something. They're, in a sense, feel like they're getting low because their face is getting down towards the ground, but they're really not squatting low at all. And then what is so interesting is I'll ask them something, all right, so how much weight are you using? And they might be using a fairly significant amount of weight. And then I'll ask them this, and I said, well, do your legs get sore? And they're like, yeah, they don't actually. And that's weird because, they should be getting sore. I'm using a decent amount of weight and squatting down there, right, just like this. But yeah, I don't really feel like my legs are getting sore at all. I don't really feel like I'm getting any stronger. And the reason why is they're not going deep enough. And so, so then what I have them do is I usually pull out this box. This is a 12-inch box. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of a pad on top of it if need be, just depending on how tall the person is. And I say, all right, well, let's do your squat that you just showed me, but I want you to go down and see if you can touch the box and then come back up. And so then often what I'll see is they'll just get in here like this, be there like that, and they'll be like, oh, and down they go, right? And that just kind of shows them, it's like, wow, I'm really not getting down that far. I thought I was getting down further. I'm like, yeah. And so the reason why this is important is you really, like the purpose of your squat, the two main muscle groups basically that you're working with your squat, even though it's like almost like a full body exercise, but primarily the quads and the glutes, okay? And in order to get a full contraction of those muscles, you have to go at least to 90 degrees at your hips and knees, right? So this height box for me, right, if I go all the way down and I touch there or just pause right there, you can see my hips maybe just slightly lower than my knee, but that's actually a pretty good height for me if I was just doing squats, right? In general, like even a back squat or a goblet squat. And the reason that this works is because you cannot get strength in your knees or in those muscle groups, the quads and the glutes, unless you actually get through a decent amount of the available range of motion in order to contract. And so the example I give a lot of my patients is like, you doing your squats like this would be me just like doing bicep curls from there to there, right? Like you go down there, you use a lot more of that muscle, but if you're just going from here to there, you're not going to get really strong. And so they are surprised pretty quickly, even without any weight, that if I have them come down and try to tap or even just go down this low and get back up, right? If they do 10 of these, they're like, man, I really feel that in my quads. That's so hard, right? And it's hard just because they're going through the full range of motion. And it makes a significant impact on them realizing, that they weren't doing it correctly and why they weren't getting sore. So this video, just to wrap it up here to summarize for you, the key to doing effective squats is you got to make sure you get to the proper depth. I'm about between 5'10 and 5'11". So practice going to a 12-inch box is a good place to start. Even if you just go down and sit and then come back up, if you're only used to going that far, even that's going to be hard, just to go down and sit and then practice getting back up. And then if you're in a gym or in a situation where they're just having you squat without a target, just to work on this initially, or even as you add weight, if you have a hard time keeping that depth, because as you get tired, right, it's much harder to do the squat all the way down. So as you get tired, you will start to just slowly not go as deep. So it's really nice to have a target or a box to make sure that you touch and come back up to make sure your squats are effective. So if you're doing squats, kind of do this 12-inch box test and see, can I go down, touch the box and come back up, and see, are you getting low enough? And if your quads and your glutes aren't getting sore from your squatting, then there's a good chance you're either not doing heavy enough weight or you're not getting low enough. So check your squat depth. It's super important. Let me know if you have any questions.